Welcome to the Show Me Casey Schools podcast, where we help families make well-informed decisions about their child's education. I'm Nina, and today I'm joined by Kris Collins with the Kansas City PreK Co-op and Julia Wendt with the Kansas City Public Schools Office of Early Learning. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you all for being here with me today.
Good afternoon. Thanks for pulling us together.
No problem. So there's been a lot of conversation recently about pre-K, early childhood education, and things like that. So I thought that would be a good opportunity to bring you both in and talk about some of the amazing work that you all, your teams, and your partners are doing in the pre-K space. Sound okay?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Kris, I'm going to start with you. Could you tell us a little bit about the Kansas City PreK Co-op?
Sure. The cooperative maximizes equitable access to quality pre-K. And so we are in year 5 right now. And for those who have been or who have known us in the past 4 years, probably knew us as strictly a really innovative partnership between K-12 schools and early child care centers. And they partnered. So what happened was there was a bill that passed that allowed districts and schools to receive ADA funds for pre-K students, which they were never able to do before. And with this, schools wanted to participate and add pre-K students. However, many of them, especially our charter schools, didn't have the facility space. They were pretty much locked in K-12,
Right.
And didn't have that extra space for pre-K. And so they decided, let's partner with early childhood centers who have the facility space, the expertise, and staff. And there's a contract between the two, and they partner. And once those 4-year-olds are finished in the early child care centers, they go straight to kindergarten class at their school partner.
That's awesome. So are there different types of partners within the pre-K co-op?
There are. So we started, like I said, we started with those collaborations between K-12 and early child care centers. Last year, we decided that we wanted to open the cooperative to more home-based, family-based kind of centers. I like to call them mom and pop centers, those smaller centers that are in our neighborhoods that a lot of people don't know about, except if you live in those neighborhoods.
Or you've gone to one.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so those centers are doing a great job. But a lot of times, because they are smaller, they don't have all of the resources. And so we wanted to make sure that as many early child care centers in Kansas City as possible were of high quality. So we wanted to ask them to come into the cooperative, and we would provide resources for them to be in the cooperative. So we provide professional development, some coaching, just some assistance in whatever their needs are. So we have 3 levels. So there's the full partner, which means they are Missouri accredited. They have credentialed staff. They're working with a research-based curriculum, and they're doing assessments. Then we have the emerging partner, and those are those centers that are about a year away from Missouri accreditation. And they're probably already using a curriculum, a research-based curriculum, may or may not be doing some assessments. And then the last tier is what we call affiliate partners. And those are the ones that may need a little bit more time than a year to get their Missouri accreditation, but they're really passionate about early learning and really want to provide the best for their children and families. And so we help them.
That's awesome. So the pre-K seats that you do have available, are those for just 4-year-olds that are transitioning to kindergarten the following year? Are they 3 and 4? What's the age range for the PreK Co-op?
Sure. We do anywhere from 3 to 5 years old. So we are really interested in those 4-year-olds because they're getting ready to go into kindergarten, and we want to make sure that they're kindergarten ready. However, we also know that there are some 3-year-olds, especially siblings of families, and the longer we can keep them in there, the better prepared they are for kindergarten.
Right.
So there are a lot of the sites that accept those 3-year-olds in their pre-K program, and they just stay in there for a couple of years, and then we keep tabs on them, and they're really ready for kindergarten.
That is awesome. Okay. Well, Julia, could you share with us a little bit about some of the pre-K opportunities, early learning opportunities available through KCPS?
Yes, thank you, Nina. Thank you for having me tonight. We actually have, a number of options available in Kansas City Public Schools. A lot of our community has heard of Border Star Montessori and Holiday Montessori. Those are institutions on our Brookside South area. But we actually have about anywhere between 15 and 16 pre-K locations. We are around 1,100 seats for our students.
Wow.
So we have about 224 children in our Montessori, approximately 120 in our early childhood special education. We have, we're the largest regional provider of HeadStart. So that's a federal grant, and that is about 460 seats for our students who would need those wraparound social services. And that is actually been in fruition for a while, and it has actually been placed into 2 early learning centers at Woodland Early Learning Center and Richardson. So we have a center in the north and a center in the central area of Kansas City. And beyond that, we have we have 3 other programs. We have some signature pre-K, like our African-centered pre-K. We have our elementary neighborhood schools have anywhere from 1 to 2 pre-K classrooms at almost all of our elementary schools. Wow. So a child can join at age 3 and be at the same building for 9 years and grow with the children in their neighborhood. And additionally, in 2019, when I started, the PreK Cooperative had been going for a year with this unique funding opportunity to contract with childcare providers. So we joined, and we partnered with 2 childcare centers, and it was really an amazing blessing for our essential workers because we shut into a pandemic. Most of our district went into remote learning at that time. And if it weren't for our childcare partner sites and Richardson and Woodland being open, we wouldn't have had many in-person options for our families. So we joined that partnership 3 years ago, and it's been expanding ever since. So we have quite a bit of different blended funding streams and options for our families.
That's amazing. So I'm hearing some options at KCPS. We have some 3 and 4 and possibly 5-year-old options through the PreK Co-op. And then I know you mentioned HeadStart. And so some of your facilities have HeadStart seats available. And then, as we know, we also have different providers in the community that also offer HeadStart seats. One thing that I want to point out to our listeners is that you may be at a location that has several of these different classrooms, right? So we have some childcare facilities who have HeadStart seats. They have a KCPS seat. They may have another PreK Co-op seat with a partnership with another school. So it's a lot happening. And I know sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming for families, but I know both of you all do an amazing job of making sure you have teams available to support families. And then that's something that we're doing at Show Me KC Schools as well, providing that one-on-one navigation to just kind of help families walk through these options because it can be a lot. But we're excited because now we have more access to seats that maybe we didn't have several years ago. One thing I do want to know also for our listeners is be sure to check out the Show Me KC Schools website. We do kind of walk through some of these options, just gives you another opportunity just to digest that information, see what elementary facilities have what pre-K offerings. We also have information about the PreK Co-op on there as well. We're going to break here. And then when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the impact of the early childhood education work and what we're seeing, how that impacts students and also families in our communities. We'll be back. And we are back, and I am joined by Kris and Julia, and we are talking a little bit about the Kansas City early childhood / PreK landscape. In part one, we kind of got an overview of what those offerings look like. And I want to take this time to kind of talk a little bit about what the impact is for our students, for our families, and our community. The impact from providing early childhood education. Kris, I'll start with you.
Sure. I think it's a little bit different now than back when I was that age, which was a long time ago. Back then, we thought the best thing was for parents to stay at home, the mom especially, typically, to stay at home with her little ones. And now we know that the research says that it's more important for our children to be in a classroom setting, getting that education foundation. And that's what PreK does. It gives you the foundation to be able to have a successful K through 12 experience. And so we know that students that go to PreK, when they enter kindergarten, they're more academically ready. They have better social emotional skills. And we've even been told by some of our K-12 partners that those students are better leaders in their classroom, in their kindergarten classroom. So we know that PreK is important. And I think we need to kind of change that narrative to parents that this isn't just a daycare or childcare, that this is actually school, and it's important for them to be at school every day for the full day to reap the benefits of just like if they were in kindergarten through 12th grade.
Right. So really starting early on, hopefully at 3 if we can, but definitely for 4-year-olds.
Definitely at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why we don't call it preschool, because it is school. It's pre-K. So we see that, we have really highly trained professional educators that are very dedicated to really providing that foundation for children's social and academic success. And we can see that in our 3-year-olds rising to 4. If we have them for 2 years, we see a huge impact in their overall well-being and their academics. At this age, when 3 and 4-year-olds, they are so ripe for learning, and we can prepare. We have really highly prepared curriculum and very conducive environments for learning, so the children can explore, make friends, practice those social skills, and really develop those real world thinking structures. And through our project-based learning, we can get our students to become lifelong learners and develop those thinking structures to make them successful in their future.
That's great. What would you all say the impact is for either families or communities who have students participating in early childhood education?
The impact is you're going to have a student that's kindergarten ready. And I think that's the most important thing. Again, when you look at the data and you look at our grade 3 level reading and math scores, we know that we're not where we want to be. And when you look at those, you know that those students are behind in in their grade level. So the sooner we can start that academic information to them, the better off that they're going to be, the more on track they're going to be, the more successful they'll be in their futures. And what I always say is pre-K is where you learn to love learning. Like, that's the great part of pre-K, is that that's where you first learn how to be social, and you have your friends and you're learning all of this, and you're doing it in a way that's really fun. And so that's where you love to learn to read. And so we want to start all of those skill sets really early. And the earlier we can start those, the better.
That's great. We recently hosted a podcast episode talking about transitions to grades. So what it's like transitioning from pre-K to kindergarten, elementary to middle school, and things like that. And one of the things we brought up was getting familiar with routines and things like that. And so I see that as one of the benefits also for families who have students in pre-K seats and in classrooms, that it's also getting the parents ready
Right.
for what it's going to look like when they enter into a K-12 space. It gives them a little taste of how they want to be involved, getting in touch with that routine and getting in the habit of some of those things. And so I think that's a really great point. And we know that kindergarten readiness impacts students' entire education journey. And so when we're talking about having engaged learners and things like that, and even, there's data to support what happens even after 12th grade and going on beyond that. And we can attribute some of that back to what happened in those early learning years. So we really want to drive home that point. Early learning is important. It is not just daycare. It is an opportunity for your student to be in school. And so we are really grateful for all of the early learning opportunities that we have available. I do want to take a second and just have you all share what the community can do if they are interested in learning more, be it a family who's interested in enrolling or a community member that says, like, I'm not sure how, but I want to get engaged in this work in some capacity. I'll give you each a second to go ahead and share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we would recommend that you call 418 PreK, 816-418 PreK, and you can get a hold of our team. We have all of our options available on that number. We have open houses for our pre-K and kindergarten tours across all of our district. And you can come to 2901 Troost and put in an application, or come to our website. We have two websites. We have enrollkc.org. You can go ahead and apply for any of our programs there, enrollkc.org. Or you can go to Kansas City Public Schools /schools/early learning and see all of those options that I've mentioned. In addition, we have, if you have an infant or toddler, we have parents as teachers. So we can have a parent educator come to your home, work with you, help your child meet their milestones, and connect you with a really high quality pre-K option. And really just the value is on our students and really meeting their potential for success and meeting their milestones and learning how to learn in a group and making friends. And we hope that families will, what we find is if they're not in our school, some of our families have the child at home on screens, and we would encourage that they come and be with children in person and learn and play outside and work with our high quality curriculum and make that choice to come to pre-K.
That's awesome. And I know our PreK Cooperative, many of our partners are a part of School App KC. But Kris, what would you say for those that are interested in getting involved in the early childhood work, maybe business owners, people that are interested in volunteering? What would you recommend for those individuals?
Sure. For several. So if you want to volunteer, I say go to your local neighborhood early childhood center and read. It can be things as simple as reading to students, playing with them, doing different things, maybe donating items, different toys and play items that maybe your children have grown out of or don't use anymore. They could always use some of that. For families, I always say, the best thing you can do is do your homework, get the information, know what questions to ask when you're going in and looking at these different early child care centers and ask them what curriculum they use. Ask them how do they assess their students, and ask about what's the progress that they're seeing and the growth that they're seeing in their students. So ask all of those questions. Those are really important questions. The same thing that you would do if your child was in a K-12 situation, you need to ask those same kind of questions to those centers. And then I would say to the young people out there getting college degrees, let's think about teaching. We need a lot of really qualified, highly qualified.
We need a lot of them. Please
teachers.
Consider it.
And it's a great profession to go into. And so I think, it's the one profession that you get paid for playing with your children. And I know it's a lot more work than that. But I think when you see the joy and you see the progress of a student who may not have known their numbers or their letters prior to, and you see that they know it by the time that they're going into kindergarten, it's very rewarding. A very rewarding career, and we desperately need more teachers.
That's awesome. Well, we are going to be sure to share all of the websites noted today, the phone number, so that our listeners can get in contact with you all and learn more about the amazing programs. I want to thank you both so much for sharing some of your time with us today and helping us to learn a little bit more about all the amazing pre-K opportunities in Kansas City. We want to thank our listeners for tuning in, and we invite you to stay connected with Show Me KC Schools. Until next time, bye. Show Me KC Schools is committed to providing you with vital information that supports you while you support your child on their educational journey. Connect with us on social media at SMKCS and on YouTube at Show Me KC Schools and on all your favorite podcast platforms.